Hey guys, Robbie Kareem here, also known as Robbie K, hitting you up with another Robbie's Movie Reviews. Tonight we hit one that you might not have seen much in the theater or on television because of the fact that it's not the best advertised movie of the year. Though it potentially could win an Oscar, just depending on how artsy-fartsy the Oscars want to be this year. Don't know what I'm talking about? Don't worry, we're about to get to the point, because tonight we're going to go over the movie Mid-90s, written and directed by Jonah Hill. Now, if you're new to the channel, essentially let's look into the fact that we have three parts that we do. Number one is to kind of go over the trailer and give you an idea of what the movie's about without ruining anything. To number two, which is essentially our Phase 1 review of the Quick and Dirty review. And finally, the Phase 2 or Phase 3, which is essentially doing the second part of the review. Let's get on and go with it before my next movie starts up. Mid-90s, if you haven't seen the trailers, which again, if you don't go to the movies that often or don't have cable, you're not going to see that for this one. Essentially, Mid-90s is kind of a coming-of-age / portrayal of a certain aspect of life where essentially one kid named Stevie, also known as Sunburn when he eventually meets with his crew, hooks up with kind of a skateboard posse group, all under the guise of trying to fit in, be cool, and escape the lifestyle that he's not the most involved in. Essentially trying to escape a hard knock life, Stevie tries to experience life a little more earlier than he ever anticipated, as he tries to do whatever it takes to be good with his friends. What chaos comes aboard outside of skateboarding? You're going to have to come see the movie to find that out. But nevertheless, let's get to what the review is about. When it comes to the Phase 1 review, it pretty much is down to this. Mid-90s is essentially one of those artistic movies that's all about trying to portray realistic life and put a positive spin on it. This movie does a good job of hopefully teaching lessons about the mistakes made in the 90s, really shedding some light on a cultural component that I think people miss in movies sometimes. Does it with a great nostalgic filter, and of course tries to portray skateboarding lifestyles in the 90s into a various multifaceted clique. If that's the kind of movie you want, fantastic. The nice thing is a small runtime, but we'll get into kind of the details in a minute. Overall, you know, it's got some fun dialogue into it. It's got some very realistic aspects to it, and a filter and nostalgia that's really going to trip up a lot of people and probably get them excited about kind of reliving their golden days, especially maybe digging out some of the old Nintendo and PlayStation nostalgia. But if you're looking for kind of the entertaining flash bang that the movie theaters are perfectly about, probably my next movie I'm about to do is going to be up your style. Otherwise, when it comes to mid-90s, probably want to hold off on this one until it comes out on Redbox, Netflix, or if you still have cable, wait for a cable showing, because I just think it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea in the long run. Now, in regards to those of you decide to stick around, here's kind of where we're going into Phase 2, which is the more detailed reviews. And my special guest, well, no, I'm just kidding. Now, my partner in crime is right next to me, but essentially has asked me not to film her. So, going into the likes and dislikes of it, if you stuck around, here we go. In terms of the likes, you know, the biggest thing is that I absolutely love that the realism to this movie. I think, yeah, it's a little over-dramatic, a little overdrawn, and a little cliche at times, but overall the movie does a very, very, very nice job of sticking to reality guns. And I guess another one of those things I give them is props for willing to go down a kind of pathway of showing how a hard knock life can be sometimes. There's some serious questions and addressings in here, and when you get to kind of one of my favorite scenes, there's some good morals built into it. So kudos for building morals into what essentially looks like a very skateboardish, kind of stoner-type movie. Really surprised me there. Now, in regards to a couple of other things, I think the acting does a really good job. Stevie in particular, I think, is a very complex character. Kid did a fantastic job of kind of dominating the role, really capturing the hardships of it, the longing, and really being like a kid that's going through a tough time in this phase and doing everything he can to escape it. In regards to anything else that I like, the musical soundtrack, while it's not all my favorite types of songs, very fitting and very representative of kind of the 90s decade. Mary can tell you that one of the first songs that they started playing was Seal's Kiss from a Rose, and I was lip-singing the whole entire time. So if you're enjoying the nostalgia aspect, that's probably my favorite component of it. Yet if you're looking into kind of anything else, maybe this movie will win. It's definitely artistic. The camera filter really does a nice job of, again, bringing you back into the 90s. So, technical-wise and kind of moral-wise, this movie is chock full of stuff. And that's what I like about it. There's a decent storytelling. Very cliche, very kind of, predictable and not full of surprises. But nevertheless, it does a good job on that. What happens when you hit kind of the dislikes of the movie? Well, let's get into it. Number one, the movie, even though it's only 90 minutes long, roughly, feels a little longer than that. It doesn't move that much. At least it didn't for me. Again, I'd asked my special guest, but she doesn't want to be on camera, so that means it's pretty much just on me right now. There's no Hollywood special effects, and while it's good to have a movie like that, I kind of wish there was a little bit more flashbang and pacing to make this movie a little more exciting and fun. When you're not doing that, you've got kind of the second thing in here. Skateboarding moves are cool, but growing up in the age of like Disney, where you had motocross and Johnny Tsunami and things like that, I guess in today's era, I would have liked to see a little more, I guess, stunt work and things like that to really sort of bring out the awesomeness that was kind of, the skateboarding era. A little more export factor into it. In addition to that, you've also got the fact that it's hard to really get on board with some of these guys. Again, you have to be ready to accept and kind of put yourselves in their shoes. But these are characters, especially one guy with a name I will not repeat because I'm pretty sure I'd get in trouble. The kid annoyed the hell out of me. And I think that was the fact, is going down those little extreme cliche factors, you got to be ready for characters that you'll either really respect or really want to kind of hit and hope that they leave the movie soon. Nevertheless, you've got your characters, you've got your aspects of that. They're okay, but not my favorite groups in there. When it comes down to the fact that you've also got probably my least favorite aspect, I hate some of the writing in this film. What I mean by that is, yeah, it's realistic, fits it, kind of goes with it, but it's kind of like Django Unchained. Even though you're essentially looking at lingo and slang that was fitting of the decade, to get rammed into your face over and over again, to me, may be realistic, but also feels lazy writing to me. Again, I don't go to the movies sometimes just to hear people curse and say the same stuff over and over again. I look for kind of some more rememberable lines, as well as probably a few more, I guess, spunk and creativity when it comes to their works. In regards to that, though, it's definitely realistic. If you don't mind cursing and constantly hearing it, and that's what you like, you'll love the dialogue. Otherwise, you might want to, again, look for something better, because dialogue just really doesn't come into full swing for me. And when the movie really kind of picks up, that's kind of when it suddenly ends. So I guess I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I really liked it. Again, I appreciate the artistic manner and the realism, but it's just got a little bit more, I think, tightening up and creativity to throw in.
Jeez. If butter looked like that, we have a problem. It's not melted.
Regardless, as my kind of partner here gets gawking at a mess.
Would you like some cheese?
No, thank you.
Oh.
As we kind of go off of it before all heck breaks loose, let's kind of finish up this review. Overall, mid-90s is kind of what the trailer made you think it was going to be. It's fun. It's got some laughs into it. It's definitely a realistic, artistic movie that the Oscars totally eat up. But at the same time, it's just missing that spark of creativity and went a little too down the realistic, lazy writing, in my opinion, in terms of dialogue. It's semi-entertaining. I think I had more fun pretty much whispering to Mary and making stupid jokes like I always do. I don't know which one she found the lesser of two evils, my crappy jokes or the movie. But nevertheless, you know, it's definitely a realistic one and a good cultural one for those who like to kind of take a look into other mental health aspects outside of just the movie magic. Still, for me, I guess I'd say for its category, it's probably going to have maybe a 7, maybe an 8 at the highest. While in terms of its movie overall, I'm going to probably say a 6, 6.5. Again, not awful, just I don't think necessarily a theater venue that probably could have made it just as well on Netflix, to be honest. Anyway, we got the next one coming up. I'll post that up after this one. But until then, thank you and have a good night.